Hello everybody, welcome back to 2C TV. I'm Maya 2C and this is your latest update from Britannia. In this video we are going to be exposing the actual plan by the Islamists. They are now telling us openly and directly we are literally in the middle of a battle of our lives and there are people who are becoming treasonous. They want treason. They want to change the system. In this video we're going to bring you evidence of what they are telling us, how they plan to take over Britain and the Western world in general. We have a video which we'll show you and we're going to discuss the individuals who are essentially involved in this whole thing. Let's get on with the show. Let's talk about treason. Let's talk about extremism and something that a lot of people have been talking about for about 20 years at least. And the political establishment completely ignored it. We've had intelligence reports coming out over the last decade or so about the rise of Islamism and the rise of the conversions, of course, to the ideology up and down the country. Right now, they are still technically a minority in terms of their voices, but soon they will no longer be the minority. And it's not really about them becoming the majority. It's simply about them taking over certain parts of the establishment. And that's exactly what they are doing. So let's go to this video that we have, which shows exactly what they want to do in terms of taking over the military and, of course, also converting people and everything else. Let's go.
How can we, re-establish the Khilafah again?
So there are three methods, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Our brothers from Hizb ut-Tahrir who believe you do some grassroots dawah, you awaken the community, you awaken the ummah, but really you seek power from a select group of elite who will give you nusra, and then you do maybe something like, but not restricted to a military coup, takeover, done.
Yeah.
Then you have our brothers who, I don't like this term, they are what you would call from the jihadi spectrum. They say that no, we cannot seek nusra because they are taghut and the army are taghut. We have to take it by force.
Yep.
We have to establish Islam by force.
Yep.
Then there are those who, even though this movement has developed through the time, they say, well, hold on here. We need to deal with the means that we have, with the mechanisms that we have.
Because of sensitivity, let us not mention certain
No,
groups.
of course not.
Okay, so we will do da'wah. And we will seek nusra from maybe the
Ahl Hali wal Aqd, or maybe the military elite.
The military elite.
Yeah. As one example.
Yeah. You are working with the system. And also you have put your people in the military.
Or you give dawah to the people already in the military.
Yeah, and then, okay, when they become, those people, when they accept your da'wah, and they become part of you, have to work within the system.
To overthrow the system.
To overthrow the system.
To change the system.
To change the system.
Yeah.
See the problem? There are various ways that this could happen. And the Islamist side are thinking about it. One is, of course, grassroots conversions. The other is, and I don't know if you noticed, when they were talking about it, when it comes to the more aggressive jihadi taking action, they know for legal reasons, they can't really get into it because the police will knock on their door. So they say, because of sensitivities, let's not talk about that option for now. But that is to completely take over by force. But there is also the option of embedding themselves into our institutions, especially military. And there have been some idiots who've been advocating for example, illegal migrants and all these guys coming in saying, well, we should force them to join our military instead of giving them benefits. That's exactly what they want. Why would you bring them into our military? They are literally infiltrating. They are military-age men and you want to join the military? It's a weird solution that some people come up with. But this is what they want to do. And then, of course, then brainwash certain people, the military elite and everybody else. And, by the way, videos like this have been out for weeks and weeks. No action from the police, no action from the authorities in general. Nothing is happening. And we're going to talk about the individuals in the video as well, because we've seen these sort of podcasts a lot regularly these days. Let's talk about these guys because there's also some other stuff that they've been saying, which is kind of concerning and worrying, let's just say. Obviously, let's start with Dili Hussain. Now, some of you might already know Dili Hussain, part of the 5 Pillars UK. And he calls himself a journalist as well, but also an activist, podcaster, and everything else. So he was one of the people who's been pushing for this, right? Very extremist, very radical. He's got 112,000 followers on X, and he's based in Bedford, UK, right? Now, the other person was, can't even pronounce that, Hasham, I don't know, Al-Haddad. He only has 3,691 followers on X, but because he's not really social media savvy, he only follows 2. And but this is the sort of stuff that they've been saying, apart from the video that we showed you. Al-Haddad said, when we meet God, and that is not far away, well, that's weird, we will see the reality of the struggle with the Zionists and others, as in Christians. And we will enjoy eternal victory, and our hearts will be healed from them and their helpers. This is what keeps the believer in constant reassurance, for he is the winner, and others are the losers. Why does it have to be about winning and losing, you idiots? And the afterlife is the largest part of human life. Good luck with that. Rather you prefer the life of this world, or but the hereafter is better and more lasting. Just live your life like a normal person, you idiots. Anyway, he also said this: in the month of Ramadan, the rebellious devils are shackled. We ask God to curb the rebellious devils of mankind as well. Why are you asking God to do that? I don't. Among the corruptors of the earth, led by the Zionists of the West, the East, and Israel, and to thus open a clear victory for Muslims in general, and for the people of Palestine and Gaza in particular. Where is that place? Okay. He also said this: the benefits of war. Oh dear. The benefits. Yeah, the conflicts have benefits. I'm going to have a feeling he's going to talk about martyrs, of course. Yeah. In it, God selects his martyrs. How do you know? Did he tell you that? And he transfers some of his servants to another land in which he provides them with provision that they would not have sought voluntarily. And he forgives the misdeeds of some of them and raises the status of others, and relieves the servants of some of the worst people, and exposes the traitor, and the minerals of others are purified. And then it goes on, as the previous trials have passed, but the reward... That is very specific. How do you know that? How... The sort of stuff in the book is absolutely fascinating, and they just basically just copy and paste it and reword it. I mean, did God tell you? Well, they claim it told the guy who was not literate to write the book, but fine. If this is what you believe, this is what you believe, right? You want to believe whatever you want to believe. Why do you have to force it on other people? What if we don't want eternal happiness in your paradise? What if we don't want that? Why is it your job to push us to do it? I don't want to go to heaven. Do I have to go? Stop the obsession. Anyway, Dili Hussain himself, going back to him, responded to the video that we also showed. Darren Grimes posted it on X, but we also showed on CCTV. In schools, they are converting white English Brits to Islam, right? Teenagers. Dili Hussain responded saying, "Welcome to Islam, young brother. My 15-year-old nephew's 2 English school friends also recently accepted Islam. May Allah reward our youth by giving dawah at schools and smashing their GCSEs." Yeah, okay. Yeah. What? Let's see what's happening here. I can't take this anymore. Super chat from Jason. Thank you so much, Jason. Britain needs to tame Islam, like China, Israel, and India. And soon Iran. Don't forget about that. ML41 says, the Tories are just marking time. They know they will not get elected. We certainly need to get together and vote reform. I mean, it's getting closer now. It's almost neck and neck, reform and the Tories, which is really crazy considering Reform UK is only 4 years old as a party. And the Tories are, well, they're 200 years old at this point. Anyway, John Smith says the Britain, the new Islamic state. But that's literally what they've been claiming to want to do anyway. They want to fly the black flag on top of Downing Street and the UK Parliament. And we're already flying Pakistani flags on top of Westminster Abbey and other places anyway. And Palestinian flags are everywhere. So it's getting there, apparently. Another comment says, why are people not waking up to the Islamization of our country? because the media are not really focusing on it. The political establishment are too scared to talk about it, out of political incorrectness and everything else. And there's a lot of people who are just fearful. I'm getting death threats every day, and I've literally got friends. Again, they're the friends who call themselves Western moderate Muslims. They're on my side. They're saying this is just complete nonsense. They are culturally Muslim, but they say we shouldn't turn this country into an Islamic country, and they are fascinated by the fact, baffled that I'm getting death threats for standing up for this country. Those guys need to speak out. More of them need to speak out if they really like this country, if they really respect it. Michael Hancock says that they are already being employed in the security sector. This is about, again, the video we showed you, the discussion that they had to explain their plan, which I'll show you again if you join us later on in the live stream. They basically say, well, if we are embedding our people, into the military, into all the institutions, at the same time we're doing grassroots conversions, like the video about the school kids, teenagers being converted, and also an element of the third category, which they didn't really want to get into the details, which is the jihadi one, which is by force. And they didn't want to talk about it because of legal reasons, because they know the police will knock on their door. But surely the intelligence are watching this. Surely they are monitoring them. But it's not necessarily the job of the intelligence to make a move. It's the job of the actual authorities to make a move. It's not the job of GCHQ to always be on top of it. It's also the police and the Home Office and Downing Street in general to do something about thousands and thousands of extremists who are walking freely on our streets. They have a list. They have a big list. They know exactly who they are. Tony Moore says, I saw a video similar saying they will take over the US. That's not going to happen. Europe could go down, or at least part of Europe, at least temporarily, for about half a century. That could happen. This could be the end of Europe for now, as we know it. And it's not going to happen anytime soon, by the way. It will still take a few years, a couple of decades. America is a different thing. You cannot take the US for various reasons. And those who know how the structure in the US works know exactly. And also the mentality of the Americans. You expect the Americans to bury their heads in the sand like we're doing here in Europe? They're not going to do that. Also, America is extremely different in terms of the way it's structured anyway, each state, and of the fundamental constitution as well. Here we are allowing those who want to do treason to democratically embed themselves. The British establishment allowed it to happen. They're becoming councillors, they're becoming mayors, they're becoming MPs and everything else. And they don't believe in our institutions. When you become an MP, for example, whatever, you have to, obviously, the Pledge of Allegiance and everything else in terms of the crown, and it's not really the crown, it's symbolic, but it's about the country and the flag and everything else. We now have people who literally hate the flag and hate the country, who lie and say, I'm very much loyal now. I want to be a prime minister or mayor, and we're just allowing it to happen. It's crazy. Kevin Grant. Kevin Grant always says nonsensical stuff. There are lots of farmers protesting about Brexit in London. There are no farmers protesting in London right now. This was a few days ago, and I was there. I did a live report. They were not protesting about Brexit. The majority of them were Brexiteers. They were protesting against the British establishment and the political class for being stupid. The same reason that the farmers are protesting in Europe, in the Netherlands, in France, in Germany, in Belgium, in Spain, every single EU member state. Do you think the Spanish farmers are protesting because they did Brexit in Spain? Or maybe the Dutch farmers? No, the Brexit harmed them. It will help if people use their brain sometimes. It would definitely help. Instead of listening to propaganda coming from The Guardian. Tracy reminds us all, come on, press the like button. Absolutely, we got almost 3,000 people watching. Only 400 have clicked like. This is the real treason. Only 484 people have clicked like watching this live stream right now. I'm going to deport every single person who has not clicked the right like button. Over the next 30 seconds, you have time. If you don't, you will be sent to Rwanda. Anyway, thank you so much, Tracy, for the reminder. So Davos says, not true, my American members of Congress are Islamists. Well, we know that. like Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, they're starting to take over there too. Illegal aliens, they're okay. That's not how it works. Okay, how many times do I have to explain? All right, there is a difference between the structure and constitutions in mainland Europe, Western Europe, and the United States of America. Just because they have a couple of weirdo Islamists who don't really have any support across the country and have joined the Congress, for example, or Senate or whatever, doesn't mean America is being taken over by Islamism. Americans will not allow it to happen. The structure will not allow it to happen. The constitution will not allow it to happen. The people will not allow it to happen. First Amendment, Second Amendment, everything that they have. When people like Ilhan Omar and the future Ilhan Omars try to take over, because they will try to take over in America, they will be gone, let's just say. They will not succeed. Europe is a whole different battleground. Europe lost 10 years ago. It just didn't see it coming. It's just dying. It's not dead yet, but it's dying. And it will be at least, the hope that we have, the only optimism, and Douglas Murray has talked about this, is that it could be death, like coma. You can potentially bring it back, but it will still take about half a century. I mean, again, situations we had centuries ago in Spain and the Crusades and everything else. The thing is, if the actual Islamic ideology takes over Britain and France and Germany, the whole thing would go down anyway. So they will have their honeymoon period for about 10 minutes. But because the Islamic ideology is similar to socialism, it's control, centralization, taxation, and everything else, it's not going to be productive. The economy will collapse. Stability will collapse. It's going to be chaos. And then they're going to leave. They're going to go somewhere else. And then we have to pick up the pieces. It will be obviously the future generations. Newton says, troll alert. Oh my God, who's this one? Where is the troll? Is it an annoying troll or is it just spamming? Is it spamming? I need to find the actual name. Barry says, Maria, look how blatant they are saying this. And what are the police, MI5 and all the others are doing? Nothing. Because they're infected with Islamists and sympathizers. They are so scared of offending other Muslims. And this is the issue. Instead of doing this, get the political class, get the authorities, get the metropolitan police to go into the Islamic communities, to go and find those who call themselves Western, moderate, modern Muslims. Get them to come and lead that movement against the Islamists. Let's see how many you can find, by the way. Because a lot of them are scared, right? A lot of them are scared. And a lot of them are still technically sympathizing with the rest of the Islamists. But there will be people in the Islamic community who, you know, if you encourage them, if you make them brave, they could come out and they could fight against that ideology. But the police and the politicians, they're not even bothering. So they are scared that if they take any action against extremism, they're going to offend the other Muslims. Are you kidding me with this? I don't care if people get offended. Protect the country. Super chat from Articulate Ways, thank you, saying those are Southeast Asians, they are not Turkish or Persians. Of course not, no. I'm a Turk from Azerbaijan. Those people are not welcome to my country. Again, let's not forget, because obviously Islam as an ideology expanded in many places, it turned certain establishments into the Islamic establishment, like the Iranian regime, even technically, Erdogan, for example, in Turkey. But it didn't mean that the culture of those nations as a whole changed. So there is a massive difference within even the ordinary, I don't know, the few Muslims in Iran, for example, or some other places. They are still very different to the Pakistanis, the extremists, and all the others. Same applies to, for example, people in Bahrain, for example. The Muslims are all Muslim culturally, but they're not the same. Again, Azerbaijan, many other places as well. And they are fighting. They are fighting our fight. It's those guys. If you want to see the actual battle against the extremism and the ideology of Islam, it's happening in the Middle East. The Kurds and everybody else, well, they're all kicking off anyway. Listen to them. Listen to some of the Turks. Listen to some of the Persians. All the other Iranians. The Kurdish Iranians and all the others. And we got the Westerners, weak, wet lettuce. The Western establishment being afraid. Oh, what if we offend people? It might sound mean. Really? Bring back Cyrus the Great and Queen Victoria at this point. I think Victoria would have sorted it out. Actually, Elizabeth I would have completely sorted it out. Super chat from Aaron Bacon. Thank you, Aaron, saying, when the government cannot protect our borders or British citizens, there is no point to the government. The government and organizations need removing. But this is the whole point. But again, we do have technically democracy, right? Now, the reason we criticize the democratic system and we think, well, is it corrupt or it's not working? It's not working because the rest of the population are not practicing it. If everybody comes out and speak out against something or in favor of something and vote against something or for something, you will see change by force. I mean, look at Argentina with Javier Milei, look at America with Trump, look at what's happening now again in France with Le Pen. You can, while you still have a bit of democracy left. I know that at the top of democracy, it's centralized, you got all these corporations, you got donations, corruption, bribery. Yes, we have all these problems. But you still have the mechanism. While you have it, use it. Before it's completely too late and we are a dictatorship. Before it's completely too late. Marion says, sorry my ignorance, will all the moderates stand up against the extremists when there are enough people to implement Sharia, or will they just turn a blind eye and join them? I mean, again, we can't really have any logical and scientific data right now in terms of how many of the Islamic community in Britain, for example, are this category or that category, or because there are different categories. When we say moderate Western Muslim, they are basically non-practicing Muslims. They are basically just cultural Muslims who were born into the family, but they just can't publicly say I'm no longer a Muslim because you can't say it. You can't leave the religion. And it's not like Christianity. You're like, I'm no longer Christian. You can't just say I'm not a Muslim anymore. You will be in trouble, especially if you're living in East London or Bradford or Luton, Birmingham. So they can't say it. But so there's that category. But there's also the category of, they just have their own problems. They just want to get on with life. But they still don't really condemn the Houthis or Hezbollah. And there's still the other category that they might not be extremists or they don't want Islam to completely take over. But they still want to, stone the gays or women for wearing revealing clothes. And there's a category, again, that want Islam to expand, but they themselves don't want to actually do any of the extremist stuff because, they're not really, aggressive themselves. But if someone else does it, they'll be fine with it. But those categories who actually are against the expansion of the ideology, they need to speak out. And if they call themselves that, they need to do something about it. Because people right now put everybody in the same category. By the way, it's just not compatible. The Islamic ideology is not compatible with democracy. You can't have both. It just doesn't work. It's like communism. You can't have communism and democracy at the same time. It makes no sense. Sydney Pureblood says, I moved from Ilford, East London to near Colchester in the deepest, darkest Essex in 2012. Best move I made. There have been a lot of families. The EastEnders, obviously the soap opera, and the actual concept of East Londoners, the white working class East Londoners, they're not there anymore. Most of them have gone. There's a few pensioners left, but they're all being pushed out to Essex and other places. But then there's also now the middle classes. So there's some of the Islamic community, some of the young professionals are growing up, and they get professional jobs, and they work in the city, and they also don't want to be in those areas anymore. So when you don't have prosperity in an area, in an urban area, how can you expect any sort of civility or education or actual safety? So even a few younger kind of people who are from the Islamic community, they're born into it, but they're not really practicing. They go get a job as a banker, they drink beer, they have bacon. The moment they get that, they leave. They're like, I don't want to be in Bradford anymore. I don't want to be in Luton. So you leave those areas in the hands of nutters who don't want to make those areas better or British. This is the problem. Everybody runs away. I mean, I don't blame people for running away, but no one's staying to fight. And we're all obviously guilty of that at some point. At some point I might have to leave where I live because of all the death threats. How many times do I have to wear a bulletproof vest just to leave my house to go to a supermarket? It's not safe anymore. Anyway, did I miss a super chat? No, I haven't. Okay. It's been crazy. If you join us late, let's just do a quick summary. I'm going to show you again the video in case you haven't seen it. Then we're going to react to it again because it's completely crazy. They're literally telling you the different options, scenarios they're going to see in order to take over. They literally said take over. Let's watch it again.
How can we, re-establish the Khilafah again?
So there are three methods. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Our brothers from Hizb ut-Tahrir who believe you do some grassroots dawah, you awaken the community, you awaken the ummah, but really you seek power from a select group of elite who will give you nusra, and then you do maybe something like, but not restricted to a military coup, takeover, done.
Yeah.
Then you have our brothers who, I don't like this term, they are what you would call from the jihadi spectrum. They say that no, we cannot seek nusra because they are taghut and the army are taghut. We have to take it by force.
Yep.
We have to establish Islam by force.
Yep.
Then there are those who, even though this movement has developed through the time, they say, well, hold on here, we need to deal with the means that we have, with the mechanisms that we have.
Because of sensitivity, let us not mention certain
No,
groups.
of course not.
Okay, so we will do da'wah. And we will seek nusra from maybe the
Ahl Hali wal Aqd, or maybe the military elite.
the military elite.
Yeah. As one example.
Yeah. You are working with the system, and also you have put your people in the military.
Or you give dawah to the people already in the military.
Yeah, and then, okay, when they become, those people, when they accept your da'wah,
Yeah.
and they become part of you, have to work within the system.
To overthrow the system.
To overthrow the system.
To change the system.
To change the system.
Yeah.
They're straightforward. They've been direct. They've been honest. And they're smiling. They're very proud. Again, where is MI5? Where is the line? What's the threshold as an extremist? If you are showing your intent to do treason, isn't that not enough? Because apparently if you post a mean tweet about, I don't know, the LGBT flag, for example, as a joke, you could get arrested. But if you say this, why is it that you're not even having any conversation? You know, I know, but they're being monitored. Anybody who wants to do treason in this country, whether you're the far left or Islamists or any sort of group, even if you're doing it in the name of, I don't know, ultra-nationalism, if you do treason, I'm still against it. Because you're going to harm our people and the safety of our people. But apparently there are different tiers when it comes to the authority and how they deal with them. If you have breakfast in London before a pro-Israeli protest, then you'll be arrested apparently. But if you do this, you're fine. See the issue? Super chat from Genocide Jim. What sort of name is this? As a Scot, thank you by the way. As a Scot, can I ask what's happening? Energy to England. You can't fly a Union. You can't fly a Union Jack without being prosecuted, and the media or minister don't say England. They refer to you as the UK. You've lost identity. Again, it's mostly because the political class. The political class actually does have an influence on the rest of the culture, which is really weird because we have a centralized country as opposed to many other places like America. So technically speaking, the political class in Parliament, they're not representative of the country, but they created an illusion of representation. They basically create a fake mirror of the country. They say this is basically what people think. And the BBC and the Guardian and all the press and everybody else will basically frame the narrative in a way that people will think outside the UK. This is how people think in the UK. Like we had basically the Guardian and everybody else saying, showing some of the protests against Donald Trump when he was president. And the narrative was everybody in the United Kingdom hates Donald Trump. What? But that's what they do. They are ashamed of our identity. So the politicians stop being proud of the identity of the English identity or Scottish identity and being proud of the Union flag. So automatically that affects the mentality of the rest of the culture. Until people say enough is enough. Shrek Fiona says, I came from China. And now I am in Europe, where people want communism and Sharia from a communist country to another. I know. Well, my story is, again, my mother and people like my mother, she was saved by the British embassy. She had to flee the Islamic State in Iran, the Islamic Socialist State of Iran. And she and people like her are so frustrated. You think I'm frustrated, you think you're frustrated. My mum is like very radical. She basically says, I literally ran away and now they're following me. Now they're here. What do we do? I don't blame them, especially those who came into the West from places like Iran in the 80s, in the 90s, up to 2000s, and especially like after 1979, the paramilitary coup. They're just baffled. They're like, what do we do now? Where do we go? Well, Florida. Yeah, probably Florida. That's my plan. In case I get pushed out somehow. I need to make backup plans for Florida. Why not? Alan Carr says, love to see them coming to Scotland. Oh yeah, they do not mess with the angry Scots. I mean, right now your establishment has been infiltrated. Do something about that first. Look at Humza Useless Yusuf and his mates. Aaron Bacon says, head to pit villages in northeast England to escape. I don't know. If I have to live in sort of like villagey parts, I think I might go to Yorkshire. I have a soft spot for Yorkshire. Although, having said that, I was always pro the House of Lancaster. And of course, I'm pro Tudor. So I'm not really in favour of the House of York. But in terms of the area, right now, the green pleasant land, Yorkshire, very lovely. But Henry V did nothing wrong. Go Henry. Super chat from Galloway Raider, thank you, saying, can I ask a stupid question? Have those men ever done a day's work in their miserable lives? No, because most of these, well, firstly, Dili Hussein is just a podcaster. Well, that's a job, fine. Even I've actually done jobs, actual work, before I did this, before I became a grifter, as they say. But the other guy and people like him, they are the preachers, the imams and all. They don't work. They spend their whole life just ranting. Irony, I'm complaining about people ranting. But they literally rant and they get paid for it through their mosques and everything else. That's not a job. I mean, it is actually. It is also very impressive because they can talk for hours. You think I can talk for hours? They can go for hours and keep talking and talking and talking. Anyway. Oh no, what have I done? The live chat has been divided. Lancashire, Yorkshire, everyone's kicking off. Yes, I'm pro Tudors, get used to it. But I do love Yorkshire. Sharon says, Scotland has been renamed by Humza Yusuf Gaza Land. That sounds like Disneyland. Gaza Land. Anyway, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to take a break and we'll come back. We're going to talk about what happened last night in Paris. At the airport, Charles de Gaulle, because there was absolute chaos with illegal migrants being deported. Absolute mayhem. So we'll talk about that in detail in a few minutes, in the next hour or so. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you so much. We're now on 426,000 subscribers. We're getting close to 500,000 very, very quickly. I'm Maya Tusi, and we are the media.